So I know the 95th Academy Awards aren't arriving until March 12th, 2023, but I thought now would be a good time to reflect on the Oscar possibilities of all the films released in the first 8 months of 2022, and also what we can expect from the most promising movies this coming fall. Yes, it's time for my crazy early Oscar predictions for next year's ceremony. I'm going to split this video into two parts. First, I'll talk about the films that came out between January and August 2022 that have some Oscar buzz as of this moment and what they might be nominated for. And second, I'll talk about 10 films that are being released between September and December this year that I feel, even though they're mostly unseen at this point, have a very strong chance of receiving top Oscar nominations, and discuss what nominations those might be and why. Here we go. So I have to tell you, in August of 2022, I feel like there aren't very many movies released so far this year that are going to be top contenders for Best Picture or Best Director. I think at the top of the list right now is Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is a movie that came out in the spring and has just been gaining momentum month after month. So many people adore this film, and I think it has a very good chance of getting in for a couple top categories. I would say the category most likely for Everything Everywhere All at Once to get in is Best Original Screenplay. I think a nomination there is all but guaranteed at this point. So many people are going to be voting for it in multiple categories. That's the one I think everyone can get behind. I would say it's possible that it takes the 9th or 10th Best Picture slot. I think it all depends on what films are released at the end of this year. If there's a lot of competition, I think it might fall through the cracks for that top category, but I do think original screenplay is pretty much in the bag at this point. I also would really love a nomination, her first nomination, for Michelle Yeoh for Best Actress. It's kind of insane to realize, with so many excellent performances behind her, especially Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, that Michelle Yeoh has never been nominated for an Academy Award. I think a lot of people are pushing her for Best Actress. Again, I think it depends on what films come out in the fall. If there are 15, 20 amazing lead performances by actresses, I don't know if Yeoh will be able to slip in, but as of now, she's definitely a contender. I also think The Batman will get a few nominations. I think it's almost guaranteed it gets in for Best Makeup and Hairstyling. And the more I think about it, I feel like it has a pretty good shot at cinematography. If enough people remember the look of the movie, I mean, it will have been a year that the movie has been out when the Academy Awards finally airs. I just think the look of The Batman is so striking. It would be another nomination for the cinematographer of Dune, which just came out in 2021, and other Batman movies have been nominated for Best Cinematography. Think The Dark Knight, think Batman Begins, even Batman Forever got in for Best Cinematography. It's difficult when a movie comes out in March and then the ceremony is the following March. Sometimes people just forget. I really do hope that The Batman gets in for at least 2 or 3 technical nominations at next year's ceremony. The next movie is Top Gun Maverick. This movie was the biggest blockbuster of the summer, potentially the year. I mean, we'll see how Avatar 2 pans out, but I feel like there is so much love for Top Gun Maverick that I think it's going to get in at least 2 or 3 places. I think the category it has the biggest lock in is Best Sound. That category is definitely happening for Top Gun Maverick. It might get in for visual effects, maybe Best Original Song. There's been rumblings that Tom Cruise might get in for Best Actor. That's not going to happen. Like, I know that he delivers a terrific performance in the movie. It's just not of the caliber of a Best Actor nomination. I don't see that happening. I would say there's like the slightest chance it could get into like that 10th slot for Best Picture. But I think back on the last ceremony, there was a lot of talk of Spider-Man No Way Home getting in for Best Picture. And I felt like for a few weeks it could happen. It was so popular, it was making so much money, and it's a terrific film. I thought maybe Spider-Man No Way Home could get in, but it didn't. It only got in for Best Visual Effects and nothing else. I feel like Top Gun Maverick, especially considering its May release date, which will be far in advance of when the ceremony actually takes place, I think what we'll see is Top Gun Maverick getting into 2, maybe 3 technical categories and nothing else. The next movie is Elvis, which I adored over the summer. I mean, I had some issues with it, including the Tom Hanks supporting performance, but Austin Butler is sensational in this movie. I feel like if this movie gets 1 nomination, it's for Austin Butler. Now, I wouldn't say it's a probable nomination. I'd say it's a possibility at this point, but I do see it showing up in at least a couple categories on Oscar nominations morning, like Best Score, Best Sound, maybe Best Cinematography. It's also a potential contender for Best Picture, but right now I feel like that's on the bubble. I would only at this point pencil it in for a few technical categories, and then possibly, depending on the competition, Austin Butler could sneak into that 4th or 5th Best Actor slot. He's so incredibly dazzling in that film. We will see. And then a few others to mention here. I think Turning Red definitely gets into Best Animated Feature. I feel like that's the frontrunner to win right now, even though it came out way back in March. It's definitely the best animated film I have seen so far this year. We will see if there's something that comes out in like November or December that overtakes it. I think Nope gets in somewhere, maybe. Jordan Peele's last movie, Us, was pretty much ignored, so it's possible that Nope is also ignored. I feel like the 2 categories it has the best shot at right now are cinematography and original screenplay. I would put my money on maybe cinematography happening. I feel like there's a slightly higher chance for cinematography. As of now, I don't think it makes it in anywhere, but don't be surprised if it shows up in 1 or 2 categories. I really, really want The Northman to get a Best Cinematography nomination. That would be awesome. I finally watched it a couple weeks ago, and I was just completely bowled over by the look of the film. Think what you want of The Northman. The cinematography is sensational. The cinematographer got nominated for The Lighthouse a few years back, so there is precedence there. The Lighthouse got its 1 and only nomination at the Oscars in cinematography. I feel like The Northman is on the bubble there. It was an April release. It might be forgotten, but I really hope it gets in. I would say the chances right now are kind of 50-50. We'll see how that pans out. And then in Best Visual Effects, I think we'll see at least 1 or 2 of these Marvel movies, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and or Thor, Love and Thunder. I think probably one of those gets in. I don't think both do. I think the movie that had the more memorable effects was Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. But I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I think we know already that the winner of Best Visual Effects is going to be Avatar: The Way of Water. I cannot imagine any other movie beating that, just based on the teaser that's been released. So I don't think it really matters in the long run. Avatar is winning in Best Visual Effects, but I do think one of those Marvel movies will make it in. All right, so that takes me now to 10 films that have not been released yet, that are coming out in the coming months, that I think will be major players at the 95th Academy Awards. So let's go down the list. Number 1, The Fable Men. This is one of my most highly anticipated films of the year. I'm a huge, lifelong Steven Spielberg fan, and I'm really excited to see a film from him that's very personal, that's not another Indiana Jones or even like a West Side Story, which I liked, but I love the idea of him doing something original, something where he was a part of the writing process, where it is influenced by his young life, coming of age story, terrific cast. There's just something about this project that I feel like could be really special. I don't know if we can predict it's going to win anything yet, but I do feel like outside of the movie being a disappointment, I feel like The Fable Men will get in for picture and director. probably Best Supporting Actress for Michelle Williams, whichever one they campaign her for. Michelle Williams would then be on her 5th Oscar nomination without a win, so we'll see what happens. I think other possibilities are Best Original Screenplay, again, Best Cinematography. I think The Fable Men, as long as it delivers, will be a major player at the upcoming ceremony. Number 2, Empire of Light. I think the 2 reasons that this makes it into the next ceremony are Sam Mendes and Olivia Colman. I feel like everything Olivia Colman touches right now in the world of film plays a role at the Oscars. In just the last few years, we've had The Favorite, we've had The Father, and then we had The Lost Daughter. The storyline sounds like something Academy voters will go for, and Sam Mendes, you can't ever count him out. His last movie was 1917. It was awarded all over the place. Sam Mendes almost won the Oscar for Best Director. So I think that gets in for Picture, Director, probably Best Actress for Olivia Colman, because what's a year at the Oscars without her being nominated somewhere? And then we'll see in other technical categories if it places. It's a period film, so kind of like The Fable Men, might get in for production design, some of the technical categories. We shall see. Number 3, The Whale. There's been a lot of talk about this one. I adore Darren Aronofsky's work. I think Black Swan is a masterpiece. I feel like his last couple films have been ignored come Oscars time, but The Whale is absolutely going to be a player. I think the most probable nomination is going to be Best Actor for Brendan Fraser. That would be Fraser's first Oscar nomination ever, just based on that still image that's been released and looking at what the concept of the movie is. I think he's almost a lock. It just feels right. Aronofsky has gotten a lot of his actors to Oscar nominations and or wins. Think Natalie Portman, think Mickey Rourke for The Wrestler. I think Fraser gets in. I think Aronofsky is a player for Best Director. Number 4 is Babylon. I think that movie, as long as it's not a complete mess, will place in at least the technical categories, if not picture and director and acting categories. Damien Chazelle is a fierce talent. First Man didn't do that well when it came to award season, but La La Land and Whiplash, just completely overtook many of those ceremonies. And I feel like the cast in Babylon is so remarkable. And again, kind of like with Empire of Light, I feel like the concept of Babylon will definitely be one that Academy voters go for. I feel like a lot is going to have to go wrong for Babylon to not place in picture, director, 1 or 2 acting categories, a couple technical categories. I'm not sure if Babylon becomes the next La La Land with 14 Oscar nominations, but at this point I feel like anything under 8 Oscar nominations for Babylon would be kind of surprising to me. If it's getting a December release, if the reviews come out and they say it's great, just prepare yourself for a lot of Babylon this coming award season. Number 5 is Tar, which I am very excited about. 2 of my favorite films of the 2000s are In the Bedroom and Little Children, and I've been waiting very, very, very patiently for another Todd Field movie. I love that director, especially with Little Children. I just love everything he did in that film, stylistically, narratively. It's been 16 years, and I've just been really excited to see what he might do next. And I think this one, Tar, based on the short teaser that's been released, I don't know if it will have enough acclaim and widespread attention to get into picture or director, but I do think the film has a pretty good shot at Best Original Screenplay, and I'm calling it now. Cate Blanchett will be nominated for Best Actress. I feel like every time she does a really great performance, she's never overlooked. She makes it in at least for a nomination. I think Blanchett will probably get in for Best Actress. Number 6 is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. We have to take this sequel seriously because Black Panther got into Best Picture and won 3 Academy Awards. So I think Black Panther Wakanda Forever, while I don't think it'll get into picture, but I do think it gets into some technical categories, probably the ones it won for back in 2019, like costume design, original score, production design, sound, based on the trailer that's been released. I am so excited, cautiously optimistic. It probably won't happen, but Angela Bassett only has one Oscar nomination to her name for What's Love Got to Do with It from 1993, and based on that monologue she gives in the trailer, I think we have to consider her as a potential nominee for Best Supporting Actress. Depending on how that category shakes out, she might get in if she's in enough of the movie and makes a huge impression and is that emotional in more than maybe that one scene. I think Angela Bassett might be coming for another nomination. We shall see. Number 7 is Avatar: The Way of Water. Of course, we had to talk about that one, especially since Avatar from 2009 did get in for Best Picture, Best Director, won a bunch of Oscars at that 2010 ceremony, and it's been a long time coming. It's been a long wait for this sequel. Now, since this will be the first of a couple sequels coming, I wonder if the Oscar reaction will be kind of tepid. Like maybe it'll just get into 2 or 3 or 4 technical categories. As of now, I don't really predict Avatar: The Way of Water will get in for picture or director. Again, unless the reaction is stellar. Unless it's like a Top Gun Maverick like response from audiences, from critics. I think Avatar: The Way of Water will probably only place in things like visual effects and sound, maybe cinematography. Right now, I think it's only a slight possibility it gets in for picture and director, but definitely count on Avatar 2 getting into at least a few technical categories. Number 8 is White Noise. I'm very excited for this one too. It's the latest film from Noah Baumbach, who had a really big hit Oscar release in 2019 with Marriage Story that got a bunch of nominations in picture, in the acting categories, in screenplay. Again, we have to see what the response is, but I think White Noise has a pretty good shot of getting into Best Original Screenplay. Adam Driver will definitely be making a play for Best Actor. Greta Gerwig has gotten some nominations for like writing and directing at the Oscars, but she's never been nominated for acting. I love her performance in Frances Ha. So I would say she's on the bubble. She's a possibility for Best Actress. I'm really, really thrilled to see that one. Number 9 is The Son. It's from the director of The Father, which was a major player at the Academy Awards, winning Best Actor, surprisingly, for Anthony Hopkins. The cast is sensational. You have Hugh Jackman, Laura Dern. I don't know much about The Son, but from the few stills that have been released, from what I've read about it, it feels like it's definitely a movie that will be an Oscar player. I'd say if there's one nomination that feels like it could happen, really, is Hugh Jackman for Best Actor. I feel like he's been coming for his second nomination for a while. It's been a decade since Les Miserables. I adored his work in Prisoners and Logan, and I think we're going to get another Hugh Jackman Oscar nomination soon. It might be for The Son. I think it's going to be a strong player also for Best Adapted Screenplay, and then depending on how great the movie is, maybe even picture, and maybe Best Supporting Actress or Actress for Laura Dern, depending on which category they put her in. Laura Dern just won an Oscar for Marriage Story a couple years ago, so we have to take her seriously too. Finally, number 10 is Amsterdam, which we have to also take seriously because it's a David O. Russell movie, and when you look back on his last few films, they were huge players at the Oscars. Think The Fighter, think Silver Linings Playbook, and then American Hustle. Even Joy from 2015, which wasn't as well liked as some of his other recent films, that did get a Jennifer Lawrence nomination for Best Actress, and the cast of Amsterdam is insane. I remember the other day watching a film and they played the trailer, and an audience member gasped behind me at all the names that were passing on the screen. I mean, what is it, 15 names? It's like so many people. Now, The French Dispatch from last year also had a ton of great talent in it, and that movie received 0 Oscar nominations. The tone of Amsterdam looks slightly questionable, and I wonder if it might be one of those Oscar contenders that falls through the cracks. I'd say based on the trailer, the one that feels like it's most likely to happen is Best Supporting Actor for Christian Bale. I feel like based on what I've seen in that short trailer, that Christian Bale is probably the best shot at an acting nomination for Amsterdam when it comes to the Oscars. I also think Best Original Screenplay is up for grabs. I don't think it gets in for picture or director just based on what I've looked at so far, but it will definitely get in at least a couple places as long as it's not a stinker, right? None of these movies can be stinkers. If they are, they're not going to get in at the Oscars. There are, of course, many other films I think will be contenders, like She Said, Till, Blonde, Triangle of Sadness, many others, but I think these are the core 10 right now I kind of have my eye on. I'm very excited to see what the responses are at the film festivals coming up in just a few weeks. The ones that I'm most excited to see of these 10 are absolutely the top 3. The Fable Men, Empire of Light, and The Whale. Those are the 3 I have my highest hopes for. Those films, along with a few key movies we've looked at so far in 2022, I think will absolutely be major players at the upcoming 95th Academy Awards. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what films you think are going to receive Oscar nominations at next year's ceremony. Are there any titles you think I left off the list? See you next time.